As the car ride ended, Kirigiri exited the vehicle and opened the door for us to leave the car. I looked down at Kokichi, and he was fast asleep in my arms. I smiled to myself and gently kissed his forehead before slowly getting out of the car with him, still wrapped in my jacket against my chest. The two detectives just led us inside and showed us to an office room. I was going to ask what they were going to do before they spoke. We need to get more information about the game from the five of you. We don't need to do it all today, seeing as you all escaped earlier today, Kirigiri whispered to herself before Ludenberg left the room. Detective Kirigiri, I wanted to ask about our relatives. How are you going to... I was cut off by her speaking. She smiled a bit and sat up in her chair. Don't worry about that. They have already been contacted. And there is no need to be so formal, just call me Kyoko, she said, pausing before her partner spoke as well. Yes, and you can call me Celeste, she said with a kind smile. I felt a little more at ease because of this, but I was still worried about all of this. What if our relatives aren't what we remember them to be? What if we were brainwashed and they don't even exist? These thoughts all made me shudder. I hated feeling like this. Like this could all be a lie. I let myself focus on Kokichi's breathing for the time being. It helped calm me down enough to the point where I found myself rubbing his back again, while I hummed quietly into his hair. They should be here soon, Celeste said, leaving the room before Kyoko looked back over at Maki. I assumed this was because she wanted to ask her more questions, seeing as she was the only one who answered them. Maki Harukawa, right? She asked before Maki nodded at her. Okay, can you tell me more about Samugi? Did you know anything about her that could be good information? She asked, putting her hand to her chin. Maki looked over to me and Himiko, because me and her were the only two that had been around her at one point or another. All I can say is that she was running the game and controlling all the other robots and the monitors in school, I said before she wrote something down in her notepad. I see. She paused again and the room was silent once more. I could feel Kokichi start to shake against me, so I slowly moved one of my hands to his hair to gently stroke it. He relaxed a little at this, but it didn't do much. Shuichi, can you describe the school to me? She asked. I knew she was looking for specifics, like the cage around it and the layout. Well, there were 5 floors, as well as a basement in the main building. The dormitory and the trial room, as well as some of the other labs and things, were outside in the courtyard. The trial room was used when a murder would take place. I could feel my breath hitch. We have lost so many people because of the murder that took place there. The trial room was accessed with an elevator that went down for a long while before making it down to the trial room. Maki finished for me. She gave me a reassuring glance while Himiko gently put a hand on my upper back. So this trial room wasn't part of the main building? She asked before Maki nodded. She wrote more things down fairly quickly. It was a little ways away from the school, because the courtyard was split into 2 portions, the top part and the part that was down the stairs. And around all of these was a large metal cage that showed we were surrounded by bright skies. But when we escaped out of one of the many secret tunnels, there were doors that seemed to be underground, and the one we escaped out from was when we were on the 5th floor, Maki added. Kyoko smiled after writing some more things down. Okay, thank you for all of that, she said with a smile. Maki responded with a smile of her own. I kept moving my hand through Kokichi's hair while adding some quiet reassurances. It's all right. I'm right here. I love you. I whispered into his ear before he slowly moved against me as he woke up. Shuichi? He asked quietly, slowly moving to look up at me. I blushed at the look he gave me, but quickly kissed his forehead. Good morning, love, I whispered as he slowly moved back into my neck. I smiled and focused back on Kyoko and Maki. I need to let you know that we are going to have to set up meetings with each of you individually to figure out the whole mystery behind this, she said before Celeste came back into the room. Shuichi, Tenko, and Himiko, she said, looking at the three of us. Your parents or guardians are here, she said with a smile. Is my uncle really here? Okay, I said, moving to get Kokichi up. Hey, baby, I whispered into his ear, rubbing his back. He slowly groaned and met my eyes again. Yeah, he said slowly, moving out of my arms. I blushed more when my jacket slipped off his shoulder. I moved my hand to grab the fabric before placing it back on his shoulder. Shoo, you are so warm, he commented before he slowly got to his feet. I got up after him and put my hands over his back so that he would be able to stable himself. Yeah, I've been told. I blushed and looked to the side as some of the other girls started giggling. Must have been because of the scene I caused earlier. I shook my head before I moved to walk out with Celeste. This was before Maki grabbed my hand. I can stay with Kokichi while you go talk to your uncle, she said slowly, putting her arms around Kokichi. I looked at her and then to the door. Would my uncle be mad if he saw me with Kokichi? Better question. Would Kokichi be mad at me if I let my uncle see him in this state? Maki and the others were waiting, so I hesitantly gave her Kokichi. Kokichi clung to my shirt. I hated having to remove him from me so he could stay in the room with Maki and Kyoko, but I needed to make sure it's safe for the both of us first. I walked out of the room feeling empty and cold. I could only focus on the lack of Kokichi from beside me. I want to go back to him, I thought to myself before I was interrupted by a voice. Shuichi! Someone called out before I felt arms around me. I felt a familiarity with the voice. It seemed like I've heard it before. Wait. I pulled out of the person's arms. Uncle? I asked, looking at the older man. He seemed to get more gray hair from the last time I remember seeing him, but he still looked kind and calming, even if I know after this it's going back to the same old routine. Oh, jeez. I read that completely wrong. Okay, let's just reread it. Okay, I'm gonna start back from, okay, can you tell me more about Smoothie? Jeez, I cannot read today. That seemed to be okay. I felt a familiar. I hate when there's longer words that my brain's like, what does that even freaking mean? Oh, jeez. Okay, Google, you're gonna have to help me. Familiarity. Yeah. Okay, Google, how do you pronounce it?
Familiarity.
Familiarity. Okay, so you don't even... Okay, I don't know what I was thinking, but that wasn't right. Okay.